Hi, everybody. It's that time of year again. This is being recorded December 2025, and this is a continuation of the video series that I am doing on the changes that the Georgia Association of Realtors made to the 2026 GAR contract package. I'm Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta and director of the Real Estate Academy of America, here with the presenting to you the series of videos. Please subscribe below so you don't miss any of these videos. I'm doing a whole video series on all of the changes that GAR made to the contract package, and we're teaching CE classes on this, broker CE and salesperson CE. See the link in the description below. But today's video is on my favorite new form, one of 6 new forms. This is holders notice to all parties. What are you talking about, Dana? Well, let me share my screen, set the stage, present the new form, and I hope by the end of this video, you brokers and closing attorneys who hold earnest money will love this form as much as I do. So, hang on. Let me share my screen. So, before I get to the new form, let me set the stage. We know this is not a change. This has been going on in the GAR contract package and the purchase and sale agreements for years and years and years. The holder of the earnest money, that the buyer and seller negotiate on the front page. Who's going to be the holder of the earnest money? As the holder of the earnest money, if the buyer and seller chose you, basically your purchase and sale agreement is a receipt for those funds. So if on the front page, let me just go here. On the front page, Earnest, the holder of earnest money is blank, and that's either one of the brokers, the buyer's broker or the seller's broker or the closing attorney. If they say you're the holder of the earnest money, this is a receipt for that much money. So as holder, if you don't get the earnest money, you'd better be letting the parties know, hey, that receipt is not valid. I do not have the earnest money. So you should do that for yourself. But the contract instructs you to do that as well. In paragraph B6, holder of the earnest money, what it says, in the event any earnest money check or ACH is dishonored by the bank upon which it is drawn, or earnest money is not timely paid, holder shall promptly give notice of the same to the buyer and the seller. So that's important for you as the holder to say, look, I'm not responsible for this money. Y'all say I have this on deposit. I don't have it. I either never got it or I got it, but the bank didn't honor it, so it is not on deposit with me. You need to do that for yourself. Additionally, you need to do that because the seller has repercussions. Let's continue on. Again, this part is not a change. I'm setting the stage. Buyer shall have 3 banking days from the date of receiving the notice to cure the default. And if the buyer does not do so, the seller may within 7 days thereafter terminate this agreement upon notice to the buyer. And then it goes on and on. But how were we doing this before? Well, holders were hopefully sending email notice or some sort of notice, but I don't know what, I know what we were doing in our brokerage. I have no idea what other brokers were doing. So to make it more consistent and systematic, GAR for 2026, thank you GAR Forms Committee, has created a new form, F528, holders notice to all parties. And it says you give the date. The date is very important because this is day 0 for the time frame that the buyer has to cure their default. So you put in a date of the notice, buyer, seller, and the property. Holder hereby gives notice to the buyer and seller to the above referenced agreement of the following. And these first 2 check boxes correspond to what we just read in the purchase and sale agreement. The buyer has either failed to deliver the earnest money to the holder, Buyer has right to cure this default within 3 banking days from the date of this notice, which is up here. Or buyer did send the earnest money to the holder, but the buyer's earnest money payment has been returned to the holder as being dishonored by the financial institution. That says constitution, it's supposed to say institution, upon which it is drawn. Buyer has the right to cure this default within 3 banking days from the date of this notice. Now, I put in this dashed line because there is a third checkbox. Holders, you might have to use this form twice. The first time is for one of these 2 reasons. You either never received the earnest money or the bank didn't honor it. Then the buyer has 3 banking days to cure. If they don't, you as holder, again, need to protect yourself and make sure the seller has termination rights contingent upon your sending this notice. So there is a third checkbox where you as a holder would potentially use this form 2 times in a transaction. This third checkbox says the buyer has not cured the default per the holder's notice dated. That would have been the original date. So again, I have a note for you, maybe use twice. First, when earnest money is not on deposit with the holder for one of the reasons above. Second, if the buyer fails to cure the default. Then it is signed by either the broker or the closing attorney, whomever is the holder of the earnest money, with the date and the method of delivery. Comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. This is my favorite new form for the 2026 GAR contract package. Again, please subscribe so you don't miss any in this series, and take one of our CE classes. Thank you so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education. Bye. If you like that video, check out the one here. If you like the content on this entire channel, please click here to subscribe. I try to take even the most complicated of real estate situations and make them crystal clear. See what I did there? Real estate made crystal clear. Thank you guys so much for watching.